The American Constitutional Republic. Affairs of state in Oklahoma. The beliefs, principles, opinions, and views of people just like me. This is 3D Politics. Here we are again, featuring me, the Verbal Viking, Tommy McKay, perspicuitous plunder of conversation. Tonight, we've got an exciting guest, once again, a scientist right here from Oklahoma. Nobody believes it, but we've got scientists right here, cutting edge, the EndoWizard, they call him. But before all that, and before we get started, I do have a couple of things I got to say very quickly. Everybody knows about the Alec Baldwin thing, and there's been a couple of comments that I've had to make, and they all said, oh, no, it's too soon, and for anybody else, it could be too soon. But first, let me just say here, you know that thing, remember when Alec Baldwin thought he was loaded with funny, but nobody told him he was shooting blanks? Now that is literally hilarious. You know, it's unfortunate someone died, but nobody could take a joke any better than Alec Baldwin. How can you beat a dead horse worse than he did his Trump impersonation? And the only one better than that was this question here. Finish this sentence. Alec Baldwin thought he was shooting a blank. Alec Baldwin thought he was shooting a blank. I'm sorry. I don't care who you are. That's some funny stuff. It's just nice of me to leave Chip Paul out of that one. The Verbal Viking, he just says what he wants, and that Alec Baldwin, he's got everything coming to him. Also, last week we had the first pilot episode of Virtual Street Fight. Last week, thank you, Ken Reddick, Al Soto. What a great experience that was. And sign up if you want to have a virtual street fight. We're trying to do that. There's some kid out there named McGroot. I'm looking for him. I'm going to sign him up to the next fight card. And next week, Natalie Bruno, the Libertarian gubernatorial candidate, is going to come here and try to convince me to vote for her. Or maybe not. That's not what she said. She's going to come present her political views to 3D Politics, and we'll get into that. But without further ado, the EndoWizard, we're going to ask him to unmute, which we did. We should be able to hear him, and then we're going to try to, I can hear him, we're going to try to beam him in. Prepare to be beamed in. Here it comes. My God, it's amazingly loud. And now we're asking him to start, and amazing. Wow, there he is. We've beamed him in scientifically. There he is, the EndoWizard. And Chip Paul, we've had him on before, but for those people who are just joining us, Best Tincture with Herbage Magazine just recently, which we're going to talk about that at the top of the story. 2018 Tulsa Man of the Year from the Tulsa World. GnuPharma featured in Entrepreneur Magazine. New Politico, operated right at home, and also works with Oklahomans for Responsible Cannabis Action. So right off the bat, I want to do a correction because the press release went out and I suggested that there were upcoming petitioning efforts by an organization, and the proper name of that organization is Oklahomans for Responsible Cannabis Action. Tell us first, what is ORCA real quickly, then we'll get into the other business. Thanks again for being here, Chip Paul.
Awesome. Glad to be here, Tom. Thank you so much for having me. I mean, it is always a pleasure to be on 3D Politics with the Verbal Viking. So karma's a bit. That's all I got to say about your Alec Baldwin stuff.
I'm just sorry. It's a little cringy, but you know who isn't. All right.
Yeah, so on ORCA, so ORCA is really the petitioning body that just filed the two petitions that really need to happen for, one's for medical marijuana. Again, that reforms the medical marijuana program. So the big change there, it really respects everything, all the rights that we won under SQ 788. But sorry for my dog, but it also
It's fine.
does some new stuff, right? So it moves the OMMA out from under health and it moves it to a standalone agency, which kind of needs to happen. Again, that's a big lift legislatively. That's, I don't know that you get the governor to go along with that one, but the governor might agree that it kind of needs to happen. So it's kind of good that we're doing it by petition. And I think we'll get a lot of support on that one. The other one is recreational marijuana. Again, that's a bit of a lift in Oklahoma. 45% of us, I think, that's kind of a good idea. The rest of us don't. I'm on the medical side, but at the same time, I'm pouring a lot of energy into this because I think we need to do it because we just need to kind of control how it happens, recreational. And this is a good way to do it. It pokes the black market in the eye. I mean, that's what we're trying to get rid of. And this will make all of that safer. And we will, basically recognize some money on it as a state.
Yeah, it's like taking the stigma out of it, which is a popular, colloquialism these days. Let's take the stigma out of usage, even if it's recreational. I mean, we don't care if people wear perfume and dresses and drink alcohols. I mean,
Yeah.
really, it's just it's a thing. So, well, that's fantastic. And again, I think I like the attitude that we should at least control it. There is a tendency in the entitlement society. Oh, well, somebody's doing that. So, oh, somebody's going to sue. Somebody's taking care of that. Somebody's always going to do it. But the squirrel is in the middle of the road, for a month because nobody really takes ownership of the road. So
Right.
it's good that you're doing that. Plus, EndoWizard, tell us about your recent award with the tincture, best tincture from Herbage Magazine, and I really want to get into what is tincture, and it also is the tincture the product that you use to treat autism, because that's where you've had some great strides. So tell us first, what is tincture, and how did you win the best tincture from Herbage Mag?
Well, that's a real honor, and Herbage Magazine's a great magazine. James Bridges, he services the cannabis industry, and not many people realize this, but here in little old Oklahoma, I mean, our company, GnuPharma, has the first ever U.S. patent issued for manipulation of the endocannabinoid system with non-cannabis plants, right? So, and that's a pretty cool thing. That's, we hold a unique place in science. We hold a unique place in patents. We'll hold a unique place.
Follow the science. Follow the science is what they
Yeah.
say.
And so what that allows us to do, we have a model of human function that's different. It's really interesting. I was all, and we'll get to the tincture in a second, but
Yeah.
I gotta tell my
Please.
story.
That's why you're here. That
No,
is
no,
why
no.
you're here. Exactly why you're here.
But I had some really interesting, additions, let's say, to the model this weekend, and I'm kind of on this, mammals hibernate, right? And again, should we hibernate? Well, we kind of do. I mean, we sleep at night, right? So what is it? What is that? And this is I'm sorry, I just have a weird brain, so this is where my head goes.
It's called science. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what does that look like, hibernation? And, what are kind of the aspects of that around our model? And we have a model that's based on really you run on fat, right? So everything you can stick on a triglyceride, believe it or not, turns into an endocannabinoid within one enzyme step, in some cases two. So it's that
Wow.
tightly tied. Oh yeah, listen, it's closer tied to a triglyceride than estrogen is, okay, or testosterone, or some of the things that we know about every day. So this system is
Okay.
sits very high up in function in how we kind of run, okay, but it's fed by fats, and so how much saturated fat are we eating, right? So we, kind of cut that out of our diet. Well, guess what? You don't make an endocannabinoid, if you don't eat saturated fat. You also don't make cholesterol, which people don't realize. And if you
Right.
don't make cholesterol, you don't make vitamin D. So, if you're vitamin D deficient, you got to look at that pathway. There's more to it than that a little bit, but that's kind of our model. Is you work off of these master precursors that literally come from everything. Get this, Tom. Everything that you need to run your body comes off a triglyceride. Your body will build off of a triglyceride, okay? Everything you need to run your mind comes off of kind of this other system. We call it system 3, but a bacterial system that we have in our gut, okay? So tryptophan, tyrosine, and there's 3 things in there too. It's kind of interesting. 3, Trinity, kind of, godly, if you will. There,
Oh my gosh, he's trying to establish a religion. All right, go ahead. All right, all
the
right.
Indo
No,
religion.
okay, go ahead. Yeah.
Yes,
So,
yes.
so
But,
no, this is all science. I've anyway, go ahead.
but let me kind of tell you this cool thing about, so this, you have this bacterial system. That's where you make these chemicals that you need to run your mind. So tryptophan, tyrosine, and phenylalanine, or where you make dopamine, serotonin, adrenaline, which is epinephrine, they call it now, or norepinephrine. So anyway, but you make the chemicals that you need to run your mind and kind of your gut. So here's a
Okay.
really cool thing about autism, which is kind of, sad, but also it's really cool, how this works and how you kind of balance these systems. And I'll tell you some other cool stuff about it if we get through kind of autism, because I'll tell you how the tincture works, if you will.
Okay.
So first go at autism is, an understanding that in the endocannabinoid system, autistic people are deficient, okay? Well, why would they be deficient? Well, they would be deficient if they could not deal with the triglyceride and certain aspects of a triglyceride. In particular, omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids. You build your main endocannabinoids from omega-6 fatty acids, okay? And if you can't deal with that, if that enzyme is shut off, which it is for them, you don't build basically arachidonic acid, and you don't build an anandamide 2-AG, which are your
Now, Coach, I'm following this. When you say they can't deal with it, you mean they don't produce it
It means that
naturally, or
so here's the great, so all this sounds complicated, but it's not. Okay, so what is an enzyme? Well, an enzyme is just controlled by genetics, and a gene is either off or on or garbled. Okay, and it's easy to turn a gene on if it's off, and it's pretty easy to turn it off if it's on. So the thing that you got to watch out for is persistence. So if something's persistently turning it off or persistently turning it on, that's a bad thing. And it looks like with autism, something's persistently turning off the gene that you need to deal with, which expresses an enzyme to break up omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids.
okay, almost feel like I understood something. So it's not about my first inclination, which was the ability to produce. It's the ability for them to deal with, quote unquote, to break it down.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, you're listening to the brilliant scientific understanding brought to us by the EndoWizard Chip Paul right over there at TruemedX and also GnuPharma. Tulsa Man of the Year, Tulsa World 2018, and most recently, Best Tincture with Herbage Magazine. So go ahead. I think I just also understood. So deal with, when you mean, it's not the ability for them to produce, it's the ability for them to break down these different, are they fatty acids? Is that?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, so they're kind of master precursors, you can think of them as, but they're fatty acids. And so omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids. So when you eat them, basically your body goes, oh, those are awesome. I'm going to pop them on a triglyceride. Pow. now, and you store triglycerides in fat for future use, right?
Okay.
So you basically have to have omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids, and they can't deal with them. So that results in two things: a deficiency in the endocannabinoid system. So the tincture, that one best tincture, helps with that deficiency, which helps with a lot of things, but you can only get so far. So again, that was kind of my first go at a solution, and things have evolved a little bit. So what happens though, again, so if they, is that you timing? So again, if you can't deal with
I
this,
don't know. It might be. If it's not you, it might be. And plus, you froze up a second ago during your delivery, and it's because of my particular. It blamed it on my unstable internet. So go ahead, regardless. Damn the torpedoes.
okay, so if you can't do omega-6s, you can't build endocannabinoids, your main ones, and they're deficient. The autistic people are deficient in endocannabinoids. The second thing that happens is you can't deal with omega-3s. If you can't deal with omega-3s, you can't run your immune system because you can't build all the critters you need to run your immune system. So very severe autistic people should die of the first infection, allergy, whatever. It should wipe them out. And it doesn't, because what happens is their guts pick up the slack. And their guts start making, which is really cool. So there's crosstalk between these two systems called PPARs, these ancient receptors called PPARs. And these PPARs go, hey guys, the gut, pick up the slack. And so the gut starts making all of these short chain fatty acids called butyric, in particular butyric and propionic acid. They're highly anti-inflammatory, and it builds them a new immune system. So if you have a child that has autism, or if you know people that have kids with autism, they don't get sick like normal kids. They literally have an evolved immune system because they have to, because this literally saves their lives. So a lot of people, when they try to treat autism, will kind of go with the gut. And again, that's not necessarily such a good idea because it's kind of saving their lives, right? So bad things can happen. Again, you can get slowly strategy, but you've got to go with the metabolic problem. So again, there's no question autism is caused by oxidative stress, by some kind of persistence, wipes out this enzyme. So how do you fix that? You kind of have to deal with the oxidative stress, and you kind of have to go with the metabolic problem. And that so if you go to our TruemedX website, right, so you're going to see the focus tincture, and that's the thing that's tincture. You're also going to see in that line of products the Focus tablet. And the Focus tablet goes at the metabolic problem. Now, again, the tablet is an evolved thing, but and again, if you're a parent out there, just call us, because I deal with this all the time. And it's
right. Well, that's also because I am just like, I'm blown away. I really can't follow. Scientifically, of course, but tell people where to get in touch with you, especially for these problems with the autistic issue and otherwise. But let's tell them how to get a hold of you.
Yeah, so it's just Chip, CHIP, at GnuPharma.com, GnuPharma.com. And again, I do this every day. Every day, that's what I feel like I'm called to do. And, I'm here to help people. And that's what I try to do with what's in my head. But
you're having success with the products you're building. I mean, you're literally cutting.
Yes.
I mean, you're cutting edge, and this is a thing overlooked here in Oklahoma.
When one of the things, we're kind of hamstrung a little bit because we work with natural products. And when you work with natural products, you can't make claims, okay? So let's say we had something that helped with seizures, okay? You might contact us, but let's say that let's say we did, right? I couldn't say this helps with seizures. Again, I'll get sued by 3 different pharma companies. So that's something called claims. And believe me, they watch. The FDA descended on us before we had $5,000 in sales. The FDA showed up. Endocannabinoid, what?
Well, they don't want you helping people, by golly.
Yeah,
That's their job. So
it's kind of like the OBN, right? So there's good people there, and then there's people you don't know if they're trying to help or not, right? So FDA is kind of the same way. There's good people there, and there's people where just kind of know. So.
okay, so we've got about 10 minutes before the break, and I want to know, and I mean, you've kind of blown me away with some of the science here, but how, for people who understand what cannabis is, how you might smoke it, how you might, there might be other ways to manipulate brownies, whatever, and then tincture or how's the proper pronunciation?
Yeah, tincture.
Tincture. So what is it? I mean, and how do you, it's like a croissant. What the hell is it?
Oh, a tincture? Okay. Yeah, no, that's cool.
Yeah.
So a lot of people don't, I just assume everybody knows what a tincture is. So a lot of people don't know. So a tincture basically is it's a herbal extraction. So generally, this tincture, the way that we make it though, is we take an omega-3 oil, which is chia seed oil. Again, going at this problem, right? But omega-3s also are going to help partially with the endocannabinoid system. So we do.
You're talking about triglyceride.
Yes, triglycerides.
Okay.
Right? So isn't that cool? We're not really talking about cannabis, are we? But but we can add endocannabinoids to that whole mix because they're going to supplement down in this endocannabinoid system. And the endocannabinoid system is our master regulatory system. It literally, it runs every process in us, either directly or indirectly. So it's a good thing to supplement for. Now,
Yes.
interestingly, we don't realize this, but how do you defend yourself, when, like COVID, right? So you walk in a room and, somebody with COVID sneezed everywhere, right? So how are you going to, prevent that COVID from attacking you? Well, it's your immune system, right? But what runs your immune system is your endocannabinoid system, okay? And if you don't have a good endocannabinoid system, if you're not feeding it with the right stuff, you're not going to have a good immune system, okay?
Right.
Which is, interesting, right?
So how do you create a tincture?
Okay, so when I create a herbal tincture, what I'm doing is I'm basically putting herbs. I will take like herbs. I will wash them with alcohol. So I'll put some alcohol on them, like Everclear, literally, or ethanol.
They don't reveal any trade secrets here. It's okay.
Yeah, and I literally try to use as little ethanol as I possibly can. A lot of the tincture that you'll buy at Sprouts, it'll be, 50% alcohol or whatever. We're way down, like, 16% by the time it's all said and done.
Okay.
So we try to use very little alcohol. But alcohol basically helps pull alchemy says this: alcohol helps extract the spirit of things. Okay? So we pull the spirit of things out and put it in water. That's what we're trying to do. So, yeah.
It maintains volatility in a way. I mean, it allows for the thing to be accessed.
It's a solvent, so what you're trying to do is in plants, most of plants will give up kind of their goodies, if you will, with a solvent, and they'll do that into water, which is nice. Cannabis won't, dang it, creates so many problems as a, product maker, formulator. It has to give up its goodies as an oil, which is, hard to deal with.
But isn't that the nature of a triglyceride oil? No?
Yes, absolutely. So, but
Ding,
again,
ding, ding, ding. I got one right.
yeah, and kind of the uh-oh.
So that's why it is that right?
Yeah, it is. It actually, your body will store THC. It doesn't store it on a triglyceride. It stores it as something called a phospholipid, which is kind of a little lesser triglyceride, but that's why it hangs on. That's why you'll say, oh, well, I haven't smoked in a month, and you'll, pop hot on a metabolite test, right? Because your body stores it in fat that long. So,
Okay.
and that's why it's a very bad measure of, DUI is like, golly, you know, I could be absent for a day and I'd probably be off the hook, or off the chart for, that particular metabolite test, as would a lot of other people. So it's just, that's not a good measure of impairment.
Gotcha. So now on the other side of the hour, at the bottom of the hour, we're going to have a little break from Tommy K. Brings us some amazing climate change information. And also, after the break, we're going to talk about exposing the expose, I say. Speaking of a series about, apparently there's a series now being featured across Oklahoma called The Dark Side of 788, which is kind of like, oily stool or dark urine, which is horrible to hear over the airs. I just thought I'd say that for the fun of it. But talk about that. But so you create this tincture, and now let's say a family help with autism. They come to you at TruemedX. Dude, are you going to give us a tincture that we use on our child who has autism? And you say yes?
Well, so what we do is we'll have a conversation with them. Again, the nice thing is we can help. And again, I'm not a doctor, right? So that's first of all, and so I make that very clear that I'm, I'm a researcher. I know a lot about what I'm talking about. Again, I'm, kind of have PhDs under me on a grant. So,
right. We're not trying to outclaim your expertise, but your products have been noted as working.
Yes, and so, but I always make it clear to them that we can treat is not a good word, but we can basically give them a natural product solution which doesn't have any CBD or THC or anything like that in it, right?
Right.
Or this tincture that we won the award for does have CBD and CBG in it. And that's a method, or there is a THC method. Frankly, the most powerful method that we have is the natural products method, believe it or not, right now. So that's how we're getting furthest. But it's a tablet, and a lot of kids don't want to take a tablet. So you have kind of this operational problem with autistic kids that a lot of them won't, good luck trying to get them to do something they don't want to do, man. So it's, then the parents have all
Me too.
But the parents have all kinds of strategies. And so sometimes it has to be the tincture. Like my alpha kind of case, if you will, he is still on the tincture. He's continuing to get better. He's cognitively improving, behaviorally, he's still improving. So he's doing really good. But he refused to take the tablet. But he was super hardcore. I mean, he'd run away, he'd bang holes in the walls, And,
so, yeah, I get that. I've often claimed that the world for the nonconformist is easier than those who suffer with autism, but sometimes maybe it's the same thing. So so how do you apply the tincture? I mean, so if it's not a pill, what do you do? It's oral.
But they'll put it in their, orange juice or their milk or.
So you can put it in something they're going to consume anyway.
And we now have a new thing. It's a new tincture. It's a chelator that, there's other things that these kids need at different times. And so it'll go in liquid too. So, yeah.
Excellent. You're listening to the Learned Understanding of the EndoWizard from TruemedX and GnuPharma. Oklahoma scientists with us, Chip Paul, who won Best Tincture with Herbage Magazine. Hey, we're going to beam you back down to the planet's surface and bring you back in right after the break. And also, I want to ask you on the other side about the dark side of 788 and also what is immunology memory?
Awesome.
Yeah, so we're going to do that again. So we're going to take a break. This is Tommy McKay with the pleasure of interviewing Chip Paul. We'll be right back after this break.
Connect the Dots with Tommy K is brought to you by the Armbar. Submit to the Armbar. Warning. Connect the Dots with Tommy K is a broadcast production that includes comedic content designed for those that listen and people who read. Punchlines from the headlines. If you don't know the news, you can't get the joke. A new study on global warming has presented evidence regarding climate change that flies in the face of conventional theories. The latest findings debunk the climate change hypothesis by proving that the climate does not change. According to the scientists at the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the temperature of any given environment is directly associated with the time of the reading. Previous pioneers of meteorology simply disregarded this moment of instant related to their research. Today's innovative understanding of physics explains that consensus scientists cannot disassociate the thermometer reading from the space-time continuum without violating the law of non-contradiction. Today's experts conclude time changes, not the climate. If you don't know the news, you can't get the joke. Tommy K, connecting the dots.
The American Constitutional Republic. Affairs of state in Oklahoma. The beliefs, principles, opinions, and views of people just like us. This is 3D Politics. Here we are again with 3D Politics every Monday night. Tommy McKay, the Verbal Viking. Catch me on Facebook and Twitter at Tommy McKay. And of course, sign up for Virtual Street Fight at verbalviking@gmail.com. Let's try to communicate once again with Chip Paul. See if we can ask him to be himself back in. There he is. Wow, and pow, got him in. Scotty, great job. All right, that was a lot of fun during the break. I don't know what you guys are doing, but I was just amazingly entertained. So here we go again with Chip Paul. Now, I love the curveball. What is this We're going to get into exposing the dark side, which can only be like more reefer madness because we've only had like 100 years of that crap. But what is this immunological memory? What is that?
So that is a great question. I hope I do this justice in my explanation. I'm working on a blog on this. It's and this is what I try to do is take these sort of difficult concepts and scale them down where we can all understand them. So, but it's basically two things. So it's how you respond to a virus, right? So how do you build memory of something like a virus? And again, it's super duper important, right? Because we're very relevant right now with COVID. So again, is this memory that you develop, this immunological memory, is that powerful? Well, it certainly is, and it lasts a long, long, long time. So point of that is that, again, don't let anybody tell you that if you have had a disease, that, again, you have some immunity to it for a long time. That's very powerful. The other thing that does is how allergies develop. Okay, and this is really interesting. So most people don't realize this, but before the 1800s, we really didn't have allergies. People didn't die of anaphylactic shock, which they do. God, about 83,000 people died of something, according to Mars. Yeah, too soon. Sorry. But anyway, people basically didn't die of anaphylactic shock, before the 1800s. And so, why not? Well, we weren't injecting people. So as soon as I bypass your normal, processes, ooh, that's not a good thing to do. Your body's not built to, have stuff shoved in your bloodstream that didn't come through your mouth or your lungs.
Yeah, Grandpa Ted said, "Stay away from the needle drugs, Tommy." That's what he said.
So
That's what he said. I swear to God.
it's really cool how your immune system works. You kind of work through, your first level immune system kind of defends, so it kills stuff. Your second level immune system kind of repairs, so it'll come back in and repair stuff.
Wow.
But a second level immune system will kick in sometimes and be your first level immune response. And that's messed up, man. You don't want that to happen, because in that situation, and it only happens under extreme stress, right? So if you're really inflamed, if you've really got bad infection, if you're couple of other conditions I'll tell you in a second, which is sad. Yeah,
you can't be any more gross than I am. So bloody stool, that thing.
No, if you have measles, this happens, right? So you sort of kick into this thing, or if you have the measles vaccine, this kind of kicks in. Okay, so again, and that's you don't want to have that happen, but you start producing this stuff called IgE. If you're in this sort of crisis mode, if you have sort of this type 2 response under a type 1 condition or whatever. So if you're in this crisis mode, you make too much of this stuff called IgE, and you literally, whatever you're exposed to, you're going to be allergic to.
It just makes you hyperallergenic.
Yeah, it's what causes an allergy. Basically, that's the situation. I'm going to do a blog. I'll do a blog on GnuPharma. We'll have pictures, all this kind of stuff.
Hey, and let's remind them also real quick, your blog can be found where? Because this is important stuff. Where do they find you?
Yeah, on Facebook. So you can find us on Facebook at /GNUPHARMA, or Instagram, or www.GnuPharma.com. So we're just, kind of GnuPharma wherever. We're probably there. My wife does a good job of doing all that.
Excellent. And Oklahomans for Responsible Cannabis Action also is also what you're doing.
Yeah, and then also OK for You approved. That's a trade organization that is kind of supporting ORCA. And so I'm executive director of OK for You approved, and we work really hard behind the scenes to try to help industry, and we have a Facebook show on that particular channel, and I'll be interviewing, I believe, Director Barry on Wednesday at 10 a.m., which is, good to get to know her, and that's important, right? Her perspective on things.
Yes.
So, yeah, we'll have a good interview with her. So
excellent. That's wonderful. Chip Paul, way to go on that. Okay. All right. So I want to get into I want to say first, though, I almost forgot. I have always in my own mind, oh yeah, your immune system, you get sick and then it fights it off and blah 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 and da 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 da. But really until now, I never really thought of it as a memory. It's like a memory, literally. It's simple, but then I'm stupid. I was raised by 3 older sisters, so it's not my fault. They handed me the gun. They said it was cold. What was I supposed to do? Yeah, what am I? Yeah. So, the immune system is literally a memory of viruses.
And the critters, all these critters that remember stuff, these T cells and B cells and your Th1 response and microphages and M1 response and all this, They all come from omega-3 fatty acids, okay? So if you're not eating enough omega-3, omega-6 fatty acids, you're going to be deficient in these things.
Okay, so now tell us about exposing the expose, is what I called it. What is this thing about the dark side of 788? Where, I mean, literally you helped Oklahomans reach a level of freedom on you growing tomatoes, essentially, and now there's a dark side to growing tomatoes, apparently, with 7A. So how did this happen?
Yeah.
What's the new reefer madness that we're dealing with now?
So, I love our brothers at the OBN. I mean, and they help us, they guard us, they, do good things.
OBN, what's OBN for the people who don't
The
know?
Oklahoma Bureau of Narcotics.
Oh, yes, them.
But apparently, and again, I hope that this isn't them. I hope that this is just maybe some individuals, that felt strongly about kind of doing this on their own. But this is kind of why I just brought it up. Again, if this is innocent, people doing stuff on their own, more power to you.
Okay, it's coming into focus for me better now. There's a thing going around the dark side of 788, and there is a rumor or a feel or a tone that the OBN may be in on helping promote it. Okay, so what's the tell us? I've have just learned about this today for this interview. What is the dark side of 788? They say.
Well, it sort of is. It's a program. So the one that I heard about was sponsored by a sheriff's organization. In rural Oklahoma. There was a state senator there who I'll kindly not name. There was a state rep that was part of it. I'll kindly not name. There was an OBN representative there. I'll kindly not name.
Man, you're so kind.
It was kind of like the thing that Walton ran my head through the door through in Claremore. The reefer madness kind of thing is the way that it was described to me, is just this sort of attempt to kind of whip up people. Now that's fine, if people want to do that, that's their right, political right and all that. But, if it's coming from my tax money, I at least want equal time, okay? I want to go talk to them about the EndoWizard stuff, all right? I really do. I want to come, talk about health and how this is improving health and, what cannabis has done and how many people it's helped and autistic kids, I deal with all the time. I mean, let's talk about that.
Right. And you're not the only one. Listen, I mean, I understand. I'm proud to be from Oklahoma with a guy like you from Oklahoma that can bring to my show expertise and such. But I mean, you're not the only guy that's finding success in these areas. There are other people nationwide that are also finding success in these same areas. Am I right?
Yeah. Again,
Yeah.
it's just the clinical data isn't there, right? So you kind of have this world over here that's normal, right? So that Chamber of Commerce, you have normal research, FDA, yada yada yada, right? And then you have this world over here that frankly we've had to build. We had to build it with 788.
Yeah.
That didn't exist. It's federally illegal. We had to structure it and sort of build it. The legislature's helped us, but we had to build it. It doesn't look like this world at all. So
Would you talk to scientists?
Yeah, even science, right? So I'm very blessed. I work with University of Mississippi. It's kind of a backwards relationship, though. It's not, I'm not going to them saying, "Hey guys, what do you got? I'll take it and make $1 jillion with it in business." They're coming to me saying, "Hey Chip, what do you got? Let's make sure you don't mess up.
Yeah.
How can we help you?" And so, which has been a great relationship. And they've helped, develop. But it's taken, for them to talk about they wouldn't talk about CBDs, when we first started working with them. We had patents around doing this with no cannabinoids, so they loved that. They're the best in the world at plants, right? So they loved what we were doing, but we've had to drag them kind of up the ladder to be even, and they still, will not talk about THC at all. They'll grow it. They grow the marijuana, for our NIDA and NIH there, but they won't do a THC study ever. They'll do
It's like a scientific xenophobia where they're afraid to recognize that which they do not understand.
Yeah, this will blow you away, man. This will blow you away. So, guess when the first master's level class was taught on the endocannabinoid system?
I give
2019. Yeah.
And who did that?
University of Maryland, thank goodness. And University of Mississippi is going to 2023. Our model will be in there, in what they are developing, so it'll be proper.
Excellent. We're listening to the EndoWizard, Chip Paul, joining us here on 3D Politics with the Verbal. Here we are again. And look, X has won Best Tincture. Oklahoma scientist right here with us, wins industry award and has been teaching us about the endocannabinoid system and its progress with autism. And I appreciate him being here. Tell us about Oklahomans for Responsible Cannabis Action and what you're doing there.
Yeah, so what we're doing there is basically we're going to, my wife and I started the original organization, which sort of started Medical Marijuana Act, the whole discussion, right?
Cynthia, your fine wife, yes.
Yes. And she's awesome. She's hovering around somewhere, always.
She's the dog wrangler.
She is the dog whisperer right now, exactly.
Okay.
But so we always are say involved in everything and kind of what's still going on. But I wrote a lot of SQ788, right? I did that as a layman. Right. I didn't know what I was doing. I had no idea.
Well, that's humble. You did know what you were. When you say you didn't know what you were doing, you were operating as an expert in your area, knowing what you're doing, writing words that might be used as legislative verbiage, and that's not what you know. But they have to rely. Hey, man, they're forcing us to believe in science right now. So, I mean, you are science, and they were asking you for scientific verbiage to use in their legislation. And that's what you mean, humbly, like I didn't know what I was doing. What you mean is you didn't know how to write legislation. But you do know what you mean, and you do know what you're doing in the science area.
Well, yeah, I mean, and I knew what I was doing as far as the coal.
Hell yeah, you know what you're doing, or you wouldn't be on my show. All right, so here we go, kids.
but there's holes, in 788, right? So in what we did, and we left it, and it's a big lift to leave to the legislature. Here, guys, we'll leave it alone. That hadn't worked. Probably not going to work. So again, let's put this stake out there and kind of make sure that we get it right. And we've talked to Jed Green is the guy on this. So he's running point on ORCA.
Who's Jed Green?
So Jed is a wonderful human. He is a political ninja. He is a cannabis grower. Jed was part of kind of the other group in my mind that kind of knew health solutions. And then he helped create OCIA, which was another trade organization, and then he had a bit of a falling out with the owner or leader of that, and kind of now he's coming back to kind of help with this. But Jed is a political operative. If you if you ask a lot of people, at the Capitol, who Jed Green is, they'll say, "Yep, I know who Jed Green is." He helps a lot of people.
Okay, so he's a mover and shaker in the
Absolutely. He
political
helps a
realm.
lot of
Okay.
people get elected, right? But he's kind of a back of the room guy,
Okay.
and you may or may not recognize him. But he's very good at touching all the bases, right? So we've been around and talked to, between he and I, we've talked to everyone that we know about these petitions. And so the last time with 788, I knew we had numbers. I was just like, I didn't care what you thought. I was like, get out of my way. Get out of my way. I mean, really, I would try to be respectful to people. It was like, oh, yeah, you want to do it that way. Sorry, get out of my way. Yeah, we're going to do it this way. I got numbers. Yeah, it's going to be fine.
Okay.
Yeah, get out of my way. So, but this time we're not doing that. That wasn't very respectful. Again, we, ran over everybody, right? So, this time we're not going to do that. So this time everybody's going to have a voice. And so the really reform petition, the enforcement petition, a lot of people have a voice in that. OBN, we're putting on the board, Oklahoma Bureau of Narcotics, the dark side of cannabis. Hopefully they're not doing that. Hopefully that's just an individual. But, we're putting them, giving them a seat at the table, right? So we're putting them on the board of the governance of, how we're going to do this new authority, right? And they should, because they're a stakeholder. Health should be there, right? Ag should be there, so again, we're doing that. AG's office should be there. So that's what we're doing.
Yeah, and I think that's good. I mean, one of the things is there's so many other fronts that are in today's world that are assaulting our individual rights. It's important that we stake out any claim we can, especially asserting states' rights against the nationalization of these things. I've joked before. There's only two things wrong with Nazis, and that is that they're nationalists and that they're socialists. That's it's only two things wrong. But I mean, in my opinion, the fact that we are a federation of states is one of the things that's helped us survive this last 2 years of ridiculous people who are less qualified than you as scientific medical experts telling me I got to wear a mask and such, right? And so also Mayor Bynum, he was saying he's like a little pup searching for a teat. He's waiting for guidance from the feds to tell him what to do, but he's given me assurance that once the feds tell him what to do, he'll do it. That's my assurance. Oh, well, thanks for that, you nationalist, socialist piece of crap.
It's Bloomberg. It's
God, yeah, exactly.
What do you want?
Could I get a pizza with Canadian bacon? Anyway, so yeah, Bynum has no idea what to do. He's looking for guidance, and they're just down the national. So, I mean, thank God you guys like you exercising in any area states' rights, for Christ's sake, because we're being crushed by the concept of a national democracy.
It's really crazy, I think, what's happened in our country over the last 4 years, but I'm pretty awake. I was pretty awake a while back, but I think a lot of people,
you're so humble. I can't stand it.
Sorry. But a lot of us have come to really wake up to, I thought we lived in the greatest country in the world. Well, hell, we live in Venezuela, man, and that's what it's looking like to me right now. And we've got to figure out a way to take our country back. And thank God we live in the United States of America, not America, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we are. It is. I think school board issues are. I mean, imagine the fact that Joy Hoffmeister. Not only is she a Democrat trapped in a Republican body, she's also a governor trapped in a school superintendent body. This girl is so confused. She might be Deborah Gist. I don't know. I could see it on the porn channel. I'm for sure. But anyway.
There's a presidential model where, like if you really think you might be in hot water, like getting an audit or something, you like run for a higher office and maybe you get some cover or something. I don't know what people do or why they do things. But.
I don't know. But if we were, listen, anyway, the whole school system thing is a whole nother issue for me. The fact that Joy Hoffmeister has flipped, tripped, and slipped in 1,000 different ways is just disgusting to me. But the national, the bent to become a national state, a nation state, instead of a federation of independent sovereign states, we are under total assault. How did you feel about STIT? We've just got about 5 minutes before we get out of here. And even though you don't think you're political, oh yes you are. Oh, yes, you are. Plus, you're a brain. You're a good man. And the only thing that allows evil to stand is good men like you not saying something. So what do you think about STIT and the non-binary gender construct?
I think we're lucky, really, that in a lot of ways to have STIT because he's stood up. I mean, he is... that video that he did about mandates, employer mandates, I thought that was a very powerful video and a very, very good thing. And that took some cojones,
Yeah.
He got, sliced and diced pretty good from that one. So I like what he's doing. There's been a couple of things. I don't like having Afghan refugees here. Unvetted Afghan refugees at all. I mean, I don't know, why we decided to do that. And I think that was kind of his decision. So I didn't like that. But, that's about the only thing I really haven't liked that he's done. I think he's done a good job on leadership. He really doesn't speak much. It looks like he's starting to weigh in on our issue on, medical marijuana. I think, if you just, and again, all it takes is education to get you to the place to where this is valuable. This is a very good thing for our state. It's a very good thing for us. There are problems with it. Yes. Can we fix them? Yes. But it's a good thing, right? So, if you can get there, then we need to lead here. And again, how do we lead here? Well, there's some good ideas on how to lead here. And so, this petition is one of them. But it looks like he's kind of beginning to get involved, in our issue, which I think is a great thing. It can be a bigger deal than he thinks it is, believe me.
And yet I can see, especially because there's a full court press from the progressive liberals to press, every area they can, calling parents domestic terrorists, and then be like, oh yeah, we didn't mean it. Oh yeah, you didn't mean it. Right. I mean, my God, these people are the dirtiest and the worst. Joy Hoffmeister has really frosted my glass.
So somebody should FOIA her communications between, Merrick Garland's relatives.
Oh, you say you're not a politician. Well, once again, let's tell everybody, hey, Chip Paul, thanks again for bringing your scientific expertise to the show. Tommy McKay, always in deference to your brilliance there, and we appreciate you helping us extend the efforts of states' rights. But tell everybody where to find you, especially if you are a parent that has children that suffer from autism, seizures, etc. Get in touch with Chip Paul at TruemedX and GnuPharma. That's GNUPH and tell them again where to find you, Chip, before we get out of here.
Yeah, just chip at GnuPharma.com. And again, we'll work with you. We sample people. We make sure that you're going to see results before, you have to spend a bunch of money with us. So TruemedX.
This is about helping people.
Yes, absolutely. And again, it's about, I want to focus on our science. So this illustrates, if I can help your kid, it illustrates my science. So we both win. So.
So I've been here before in my own little world where I had a system that I thought would work for the boss in figuring out his stuff. And I fought so hard, and it wasn't for the money, and it wasn't for the recognition from the boss. It was all about proving that what I thought in my formula was correct, was proved to be correct. And that's a sign of a true scientist. Chip Paul, you'll come back again, yes?
Yes, sir. Yes, thank you, Tom.
Very good.
I enjoy this, so thank you.
Well,
for having me
very
on.
good. You are making us proud in Oklahoma, bringing science and EndoWizard to what they call flyover. So we're going to send you out of here. But thanks again, Chip Paul, for being here. Everybody check him out at GnuPharma and TruemedX. Thanks once again. We'll see you next time, Chip Paul. All
Cool. Ugh.
right, there he goes, ladies and gentlemen. We are ready to roll out. It comes in like a blazing Channel 5, doesn't it? Tommy McKay here. Every Monday night, the Verbal Viking. We're very pleased to have Chip Paul be here tonight. Next week, we've got Natalie Bruno, the Libertarian gubernatorial candidate, coming up. She's going to tell us all about how we should vote Libertarian and how we should vote Natalie Bruno. See if she can convince me through the 3D scrutiny. We're pleased to have her. But thanks again once again, Chip Paul. James Langford, the Lank, the Lankster, Lanky, Mr. Lang, Langy Lang, Langton. You don't have to call me Johnson. James Langford, the Lank, the Lankster, Lanky, Mr. Lang, Langy Lang.